Hey everyone, Laura here.
Tanya here.
We've been friends for over a decade and worked together for a long time in call centers as agents, quality analysts, managers, and supervisors.
In 2018, we started up this podcast to talk about the batshit bonkers bullshit we see and continue to see in our time at work and at home as consumers.
We also share your stories as both consumers and as employees.
So keep them coming to Q as in cucumber at yahoo.com.
We host the show anonymously and use aliases. In the stories we tell, we change names and identifying details of people, locations, and companies.
We also share your emails anonymously, so any similarities to real people, locations, or companies is purely coincidental.
So if you think we're talking about you, guilty conscience much?
Now on with the fun.
Love your faces.
Smooches.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
This job would be great if it wasn't for the fucking customers.
We're always this stupid. It is you take lessons. Just calm down.
Oh, fuck you!
You can't handle the truth.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
In other words, be nice, asshole. My dog ate my credit card. So just so you know, Sofia said that because we are about to talk about the most ludicrous answers that people gave. And I was looking for this list that I have that's part of the book on the most bonkers that reasons customers gave that I heard, just that I heard, as to why they could not pay. So welcome to another episode of Q's and Cucumber. I'm Lara Mack.
And I'm Tanya Edwards.
So that was the question. We talked about this in our last episode, and Tanya was, when I said it on mic, Tanya was like, and she was like raring to go. And I was like, no, that's a whole episode, not in this random question episode. So I'm going to kick this off by actually reading some of the answers that I heard people give as to why they could not pay their bill, right? And then we'll talk about the answers to other stuff, because I know Tanya's got a list, and God knows I know. I do. Okay, so one was we had to pay for a psychic for our son's hamster.
Psychic. What the fuck?
For your son's hamster.
For your son's hamster.
Okay. Literally heard somebody say that, right? We couldn't find our money. We buried it somewhere, but then lost the map we drew.
Because you were obviously stoned.
Oh, God. It's illegal to require me to make payments as I am a vampire American.
A vampire American. But I can play you in blood.
That was around the time Twilight was like hitting hard. And it was like, oh, Lord in heaven. And True Blood had premiered. And it was like, and you remember the whole like vampire Americans are Americans too and all that bullshit. Like, oh, good Lord. I was in the hospital with a rectal injury involving a garden hose and a jar of mayonnaise. Don't ask.
You know,
some of these you have to wonder, like, are they like? And these are the ones I included on this list were the ones that people gave that were so deadly serious that you had to wonder, like, is that the truth?
Right. Like, did you really get involved with a garden hose and a bottle of mustard? Or mayonnaise or whatever the hell it was?
I lost all my money when our cat broke our car. What was it driving? Sophia just said, what was it driving? I really wanted and that was one of those calls where my agent did not ask probing questions to understand
the situation.
I wanted them to ask.
So I just want to figure this out better so I can help you. How exactly did your cat? Yeah.
Oh, God, I had so many questions about that one. And I'm not reading all the ones on the list because I've tried really hard to leave the stuff in the book off the podcast because I don't want anybody to feel like they're paying for stuff they could have heard for free. I lost my job when I threw a brick through my boss's windshield.
Well, you're a dumbass.
That would be a duh. I was out of town for a nymphomaniac convention and forgot.
A nymphomaniac. And I said, fuck it. What the hell?
These last three, I was looking at them trying to figure out, like, did I want to leave one of them off for the book, but the three of them were just so brilliant that if they made them up, kudos, hats off, tip of the hat, sir, because this is like impressively made up shit. This is one. I'm in the middle of a divorce because my wife left me for my mom.
Oh, my God. That's awful.
Sophia's face. Ugh.
I know.
This one. I had to quit my job because they wouldn't give me 6 months off to follow the Britney Spears tour.
What the fuck?
And this last one, I gotta say, I might have to stand and applaud because I've had moments like this where I wanted to, but if you did it, man, good for you. It says, I was in jail for taking a shit on the floor of the DMV.
Oh, God bless you.
And whoever you are, sir, if you are out there,
we applaud you because there have
good
been
luck
many a
and
time.
Godspeed.
There have been many a time when I've had to go to the DMV and walked away with nothing.
Sir, if by some random miracle the person who did that hears this, I need you to email me with an approximate date of when it happened, because I remember the date it happened. I remember the date of this phone call, at least, okay? Email us with the date it happened, and I really want to talk to you.
Really?
I need to know.
Like, who did that? What was going through your mind? Did anybody try to stop you? Was it busy?
I'm assuming it was busy. I've had those days.
What led
man.
up to the shitting on the... Yeah, I want to know.
After our house got robbed and my driver's license was taken and I had to get it replaced, and they wouldn't give me a new driver's license number, even though I was concerned, even though the cop told me they would with the police report number, and then they said, no, you don't, and blah. Like, that was a bad day. It was like I was already frazzled that my house was broken into while I was home asleep. That freaked me out. I was beyond freaked out about that. Like, then I was drugged by accident. That's a long story, which I will not tell on this show, because the person who drugged me did it by accident, and they feel very badly about it. It was just bad. And when I remember it was about a year after that, I heard this call. And it was like,
I get it.
Oh, sir, just tip of the hat.
My head is off to you, sir.
I'm not going to be, the Colbert Report and wag my finger at you. You get a tip of the hat, sir. Like, my God.
Yeah, because I have to go in November, and I am not...
Can't you just renew it online?
I can't anymore because...
It's been too long.
It's been too long.
See, in Colorado, you can get it renewed online and use the same picture, and you don't actually have to go.
Ooh.
But after so many years, you actually have to do
I haven't
it.
I haven't had a new picture on my driver's license since I was 30.
Oh, my God.
So 16 years.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's bad.
It was right after I had Sofia. I had to get my license removed.
Although I will say this was awesome. I had a bunch of errands to run, and we had been in the Bahamas apparently when I got the little postcard that told us I needed to renew my tags. And one day I was walking past, I kid you not, they expired in April, and you get a month grace period.
Right.
On June 1st, I loaded TJ into the car to take him to daycare, and I walked around the back of the car, and I happened to glance at the numbers, and I was like, those are expired. Because you can't do that online.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, God damn it. Now I'm past even the grace period, which means I have to go in. And I was pissed. So I walk in. They verify I actually have the paperwork I need. Like, that's what I like now. At the little quick service center over here, you walk in. They're like, what do you need? They say, okay, you need this, this, and this. Because how many times did you used to sit there and wait for 2 hours just for them to say you don't have the right paperwork?
Yep.
They verify it when you walk in, and they're like, okay, go ahead and take a number. Here you go. Well, I walk in, and I'm like, I tried to get there early, but TJ was being fussy. And by the time I got there was already a line around the block. So I waited like 2-3 hours. Went down there. Wasn't too busy, but she gave me a number. And I was like, how long is it going to be? She's like, probably 35 to 45 minutes. And I said, okay, can I leave and come back? And she was like, oh, yeah, that's fine. I was like, sweet. I ran over to Walgreens, got my prescriptions, picked up my pictures, went to the dollar store, got what I needed, came back, walked in. As soon as I walked in, they called my number, and I was like, bam.
See, that's
Didn't have to sit there at all.
Well, I have
love
to go
it.
to the Social Security office.
Oh, I hate that place.
Because I have to change my name.
Oh, right. Oh, crap.
It's been like...
Because it's still your ex-husband's.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So... But it's not... It's the same on my license.
Right.
It's my maiden name on my license. I'm just afraid when I go, they're going to be like,
What's going on?
yeah, we have you under this name, blah, 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 because I don't want my license to have that name. So I need to go and get my name changed back. So I need to take one of these Fridays that I'm off and go to the Social Security office, get this paperwork put in so I can show them that I am now not married. And I can get my, I need to do this before November.
Yeah.
Because that's when my license
I had to go
expires.
down there. Oh, my God. Everybody wants to put an R in my last name and make it Mark instead of Mac. Right? So I go down to the Social Security office right after the wedding, and I'm like, I need to change my name. I give them all the paperwork, and they're like, okay. And I actually said to the lady, she was like, okay, so Lara Mark. And I said, no, it's Mac. And she goes, oh, that is a C. It's not an R. Okay, got it. So her and I actually had a conversation about it because I was like, my husband's family gets very upset when you make it an R instead of a C, right? And they don't care if you add letters or they don't care. But if you change that C to an R, they get mad. So I commented, her and I had a whole conversation about it. A few weeks later, I get my Social Security card with Laura Mark. And I'm like, God, bitch, we had this conversation. Oh, it was hot. So I had to go down there and sit for like 3 hours. I was like,
yeah, I have to go down there. I have to go.
I hate the Social Security office.
I know. I don't want to go there. But I really have no. I put it off long enough. It's been 2 years.
Yeah,
I just need to go ahead and because luckily I still had my old license and my old Social Security card.
There you go.
So I've just been using it.
Of course.
Why
not?
But
so okay, so ludicrous answers. I know Tanya has a barn full, like a warehouse full of ludicrous answers. I have a couple that I kind of picked out in my head, but I want you want to go first?
Go ahead, go first.
Okay, so the one, and I'm not even going to say where I worked with this person because honestly, I don't want anybody to put it together, and I'm hoping that by this point he has changed. Because when he said this to me, he was in his maybe mid-20s. And I remember me in my mid-20s. I still wasn't all, like, connected. And I don't think he did not realize how ludicrous it sounded to a group of professionals, right? I play a call for him that he took that is just atrocious. He's not actively listening. He's having a one-sided conversation with himself on this call. Like, and I hate those calls where you're like, you're really just fucking not listening, are you? Like, just glossing over very important things that this customer is saying to you that you could pick up on, probe into, and understand. Just right in one ear, out the other. So I sit down with him, having this coaching. And at the time, about 6 months before that, I had read this book. I believe it's called The Crucial Conversation. I think that's what it's called. I have to look, but I'm going to look while I'm talking.
Well, I'll tell you about mine while you're finding it.
Okay, go ahead.
So, in my job, we do food orders, right?
Okay.
One of the requirements by our clients and by our quality department is that we do a suggestive upsell. Like, say you get cheeseburger, French fries, we ask you, do you want a milkshake with that? Whatever, right? So, for one of the clients, they have stuff like garlic bread and pot stickers and meatballs, and then they also have these giant cookies and Rice Krispie treats. I've got this guy, he's older. He's a little southern guy. And I'm not telling him, your average check is really low. What are you doing? I'm listening to some calls, and it doesn't seem like you're offering on every call, and we need to, consistency, blah, blah, blah. He said the reason he doesn't offer to everybody is because he talks to a lot of women.
Oh, no.
He knows that women like sweets, and so he offers them always like the chocolate chip cookies or a Rice Krispie treat, and they're all on diets, so they won't buy them from him.
Shut the fuck up.
That's what he told me.
No.
That's what he told me.
No, motherfucker.
I said, so let me get this right. when you talk to a female on the phones, you offer them the sweets because women like sweets. But they're not going to take them because they're all on diets. He was like, yeah. I said, I find that highly offensive.
Yeah,
As a woman,
totally.
you can offer me a salad.
Yeah.
If that's, especially, I said, think about it this way. You know, what if I only offered you meat
Yeah.
because you're a man?
Yeah.
I said, is that all you eat is meat?
Yeah.
He was like, well, no. I said, okay, then.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
You're treating women like like we are one-dimensional cutout figures.
right.
That diet, yes. Diet, yes. Like, no.
Right,
That's
right.
not what we do, jackass.
I said, so finally, yeah, I could not believe he said that. And my boss was sitting with me during this coaching, and he was laughing so hard.
I'd have been laughing my ass off,
And
too.
when the guy left, he was just like, did he really just fucking say? I was like,
my
yeah. I mean, just
God.
stupid stuff like that I hear on a daily basis.
That you're just like, what the fuck? Okay.
Yeah.
So this book is called, what we were talking about with the agent. It's called Crucial Conversations by Carrie Patterson. So I had read this book, and the pitch to this book is basically, if you've ever replayed a conversation in your head and thought, ooh, I should have said blank, this book teaches you how to take that moment and actually capitalize on it in the moment. So you don't always have to keep thinking back, right? And it's really kind of amazing, and I found it incredibly helpful, right? So my agents, being the fact, in call centers, we got to be quick on our feet. We got to have a quick wit. We have to be smart. We have to pick up on little verbal cues. I was like, this book is amazing for call center people, especially, right? So I'm recommending it left and right in all my coachings. And all my agents are coming back to me, and they're like, oh, my God. Because I'm like, it's an audio book, too. I'm like, listen to it. Like, whatever. Listen to it. And I told people, I'm like, look, I can give away 5 copies, and then if you get a membership, you can give them away. So at a certain point, I'm like, just listen to it for a few minutes a day on your drive. I don't care. And everybody found it so helpful. So I'm having a coaching with this guy, and he has this call that he's just not listening. It's a one-sided conversation where it's like if I'm yelling at you and you're having a funny little chuckle about the cookies you had for lunch, right?
Right.
Like 2 totally different. I actually checked to see if there was a system issue. I'm like, were these 2 calls blended? Because it was so disjointed. And I play him the call and just blank stare. I'm like,
God.
Okay, got it. I don't know what to do with you. Whatever. So finally I go into my pitch about this book. I haven't met with him for a while. All my other agents have been reading it, but I haven't met with him for a while. So I'm like, okay, look, I want you to read this book if you can. I can even gift it to you, okay? What it does, and I go into my pitch about it, and he goes, well, I don't think that's going to be helpful. And I was like, oh. And he was the first person that was like, not interested, right? Because, and here's the reason why that pitch was successful right after having listened to a call. Because they listen to it, and they don't have to replay it in their head. They can hear it.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I should have said. So it's a perfect moment for pitching this book. I feel like Carrie, whatever, the person who wrote that, Carrie Patterson, should give me a cut. Because I sold so many copies of that goddamn book. I was like, okay. So he says, well, I don't need that. And I was like, well, why? And he's like, because I don't think that. I was like, you what? You don't think what? And I was confused. I genuinely, like, not sarcastically, I was like, you don't think what? And he was like, I don't think, ooh, I should have said. And I was like, on this call? Like, I'm still not accepting that this is what he is saying to me.
Right.
And I'm like, you mean on this call? He's like, no, ever. I'm like, you mean in this job? Like, I still...
Like, break this down for me.
I'm drilling it down hardcore because I just can't believe
like you've never walked away from anything.
Right. I was like, even when I'm like, do you mean as an adult? Like, did you ever think that as a teenager or a kid? Did you ever have a fight with a girlfriend and not know? And he was just like, no, I always say the right thing. I'm like, listen to that call, motherfucker. You don't. Oh my God. And by that point, I had been coaching for quite some time.
Right.
And I had never come across a statement that somebody had given me in a coaching that left me so flummoxed. Because
dumbfounded.
Because here's what it meant. It meant that if you're listening to this and you're like, I've never thought that, well, then guess what? You are not self-aware enough to ever improve past where you are right now.
Yep.
And that was my immediate reaction. I will never be able to get him to be better, and he will never get himself to be better if he is not self-aware, because that shows a complete lack of self-awareness. How are you analyzing what you're doing or what you did to learn from it? I literally sat there for like minutes while he's chit-chatting away about nothing, thinking to myself, what do I say next? And you know me, I'm quick. I had nothing. So finally I'm like, okay, I'm just going to let you go. I let him go. We had our management meeting, and we start talking about this agent because he'd been doing really good, and all of a sudden his numbers had dropped off because what he was working on had changed. What he was working on before was super easy. Now it was super hard, and they couldn't figure out why the talent didn't translate. And I was like, oh, excuse me, time out. Let me act like Zach Morris here, and time out. Let me explain to y'all, okay? And I explained what happened in that coaching. And I got this room full of executives and leadership and management staring at me, dumbfounded. They're like, wait, he said what? I'm like, so I am asking this room. I'm not telling you this to get him in trouble. I am genuinely asking this room because having done this for so many years, I genuinely don't know how to coach someone who just flat out told me, and who, now looking back at all my other experiences with him, someone who has shown me that he has no self-awareness whatsoever. So my question is, because it was such a ludicrous statement, what would you have said? Would you have had a coaching for him?
I mean, what else can you say? I mean, whenever you've asked, like, even as a teenager, even now, whenever you listen to this conversation, what do you think was missing from it on your end? And he still thinks that he did right. And if you give him examples, he's not going to take that back. He's not going to do it. So what else can you do? I mean, there are some people that, you know how we always say, is this a skill issue or is this a will issue?
Skill
right?
or will, man.
Is it skill or is it will? In that situation, it's like a mixture of both because they don't have the self-awareness and they really don't give a shit.
Right.
They really don't.
Well, here was the thing that eventually cracked me up about this kid is he had this awful, a bunch of awful conversations where he just shot off at the mouth about upper management to customers, gave them names. The name of this upper manager did blah, blah, blah.
That happened to me this week.
Oh, yeah, I know. You told me that. So
shit is not cool.
No, it is not. Like, oh, my God. So he shot off his mouth, and everybody freaked out, and he zero comprehension as to what was wrong. And then he had another conversation where this person that he was talking to went off about gay people, black people, women. He was like, I don't care about paying for your shit. I don't care about paying for the tampon box to be full in the ladies' room or paying for the big titty girl to go to lunch with the executives because they hope they're going to get a blowjob from her. And this motherfucker goes, yeah, we got a couple of those. I'm like, excuse me? Like, lost my shit, right? So when we sat down to try to explain to him why this was a problem, he was just like, well, I feel like Laura's just on a witch hunt. And it was like, you're kidding me. But at that moment, it was like one of those things where it was like, he really genuinely didn't get it. And when he's like, when I sat down with him later with his manager to discuss these calls and try to figure out what we could do, right? And his manager, I adored. He was wonderful. He tried so hard with this kid. Tried so hard. I go and I'm like, okay, we sit down, we have this conversation. I'm like, I understand you have an issue with the quality program. Let's talk about it. He's like, well, I feel like you're only looking for the bad stuff. And blah. I'm like, well, I can't get you to understand the good or the bad. You think everything you say is good. When I try to even just point out the good stuff and how you could leverage it better. Because that's the thing, is if you're going to tell me that I did something good, or if you're going to coach somebody on what they did good,
right,
explain to them what they did good and how they could leverage it in the future.
Right.
All this kid wanted to be told was the good stuff. So what he fucking looked at me and said, he's like, well, all you do is point out the bad stuff. And, and I kid you not, this is what he said. Andrew Carnegie says that if you only, focus on your weaknesses, you'll never improve. But if you focus on your strengths, you get better. And I'm like he said it like Andrew fucking Carnegie was his father.
Right. Or like he said it to him in
like
over dinner.
Okay. And gotcha. And by that point, he left the room and me and his manager were like, zero self-awareness, only wants to be told what he's doing good. Even his own quote of focusing on the good things, what I'm pretty sure Carnegie meant was focusing on the good things to leverage them. You're not even taking that advice from me. So this advice, all you want to hear is how you're so awesome. No, you're not.
You're not fucking awesome.
You're not special. I'm sorry. You have to work. Like, he genuinely believed, like, it will come.
Yeah, no, it
To
won't.
me. And he was just this little, like, frat bro that you were like, oh, God, just make him go away.
See, I just can't. I can't.
It's just these ludicrous answers to things sometimes that you're like, really?
I've had to tell people, hey, you know, so what? I was coaching somebody, and I was like, you know, I kind of heard, you know, your voice was a little, you sounded a little intense there, like, what was going on? I mean, for fucking sake, we're selling food, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's not that, people get bitchy because they get hangry. I get that.
Right.
But your job is to remain professional.
Right.
And so when I asked my agent, you know, this call was a little longer than it should have been, because I don't think we were super focused on what we were doing.
Yeah.
Which tends to make us have to have people repeat themselves, and that causes some frustration. And then the overall tone. I mean, and I know I have, when I'm on the phones, I have to sound a certain way because I can come off kind of asshole.
Oh, you and I have talked about this on the show. We
Yeah.
were by no means angels when we were
no.
on the phones.
When
Don't think that's what we're trying to say.
No, and when I'm on the phones, you guys wouldn't even recognize my voice.
I know, right?
Because I'm like super like, oh my God, thank you so much. You know.
Thank you for calling Gensel. My name is Laura. How can I make your day awesome today?
Right, you know, just shit like that.
Oh my God.
So-
Fucking kill me.
So this person says to me, I was like, you know, so remember, you know, it's all about quality. Quality, the thing about quality is consistency and blah blah blah, and because we never know which call is gonna get picked for that random monitor. So it's up to us to make sure that we're doing the same thing, the right thing on every single call, blah blah blah. This person said to me, well, I didn't know you were going to pick that call.
I hate that statement.
That fucking blows my mind. I tell you guys all the fucking time, it's about consistency. As long as you're doing the right thing, the good thing, the following what you're supposed to do on every single call, anybody can pull any call and be like, bam, that's a winner. You know?
Here's the thing. Those people that say, oh, you only pull the bad calls.
No.
If I only pull the bad calls, then you only have bad calls.
Right.
I'm sorry. People, I'm telling you, I know they're going to be agents and people that listen to this podcast that are going, you know, this is what happens to me and blah, 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 and QA's just out to get me. Let me tell you something. I can almost guarantee you, I can walk into your place of work, sit down with your QAs, plug in all the things they have to do, how much time it takes into this handy dandy little staffing calculator, and I can walk back out and say, guess what? Your QA ain't got time to find your bad calls.
No. It's like, well, they always just listen to the bad ones.
Then you only have bad ones.
If I would have known that call was going to get picked, I would have sounded better.
Oh, God.
I said, here's the thing.
So not every customer deserves to have a good experience?
I said, so here's the thing about quality. It's all very random.
Mm-hmm.
We pull up your calls and we just pick one.
If I have to pick a different call, it is only because the call I picked
is not gradable.
There's so much weird stuff. And I can't tell the number of bad calls we've picked that we're like, this isn't gradable. I'm just going to send it to somebody and see if they can help.
Yeah.
Or send it to their manager and see if they can coach. Like,
right.
We did that all the time, but I'm like, but I physically can't grade this call. There's too much weird shit.
Yeah, there's too much nonsense going on over here. So, and
we've abandoned scoring bad call. More than likely, I've never listened to a good call and not
been like, oh, that's too good. That person, I can't stand
never.
it. No, I
can
never do
put
that.
my hand on my child, swear on my life, swear on my child's life, swear on this damn dog that's laying on my feet. I have never picked a bad call and been like,
yes, yeah.
Or picked a good call and been like, no.
Yeah.
Like, never.
And I couldn't believe that she said that. And I was just like, that's not how that works at all.
No.
You know, and then I always ask them, like, have you ever worked in a call center before?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I worked. Okay. And did you get quality monitors there?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that you at least have some understanding of why we do this.
Right.
You know, and my team's quality is always, good.
Yeah.
It better be, because if not, we've got some fucking issues.
Yep.
So, but they just, I couldn't believe she said that, like, well, if I would have known, oh my God, well, if I would have known the winning lottery numbers, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to your dumb ass.
Thank you.
But here's the thing, we don't know.
What you just said to your manager is, if I would have known you'd have been watching me, I'd have done my job.
Right. Well, here, how about we do this all the time? Like, I told one of my agents, because whenever I'm there, she does really good, but the minute I leave, she just fucks off.
Right.
So do I just have to get a cardboard cutout and set it over here, like, I'm watching you?
I know,
Is that what
right?
I have to do? Put a picture of myself on your desk?
Didn't we talk about that at SHU? Like actually doing cardboard cutouts of ourselves? Because the second we walked the floor, shit got better. Mm-hmm. And it was like,
yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah. I said, well, just think of me like Jesus. I'm everywhere.
Oh my God. I told classes when I moved over to the Cal side, I told them, I was like, look, I can see your screens. I can hear your voice. I can hear you when you're on mute. You can think of me as Santa.
That's what I used to tell them.
I see and hear everything.
We
you
see
do.
and hear everything. We're like Santa Claus that way.
And there are times when I'm like, nobody heard that. It's the customer had clearly hung up. Nothing is wrong. It's a side conversation, whatever. If you heard about it because it was bad, it was because it actually had an impact.
Right.
Like, or I just was like, hey, make sure nobody hears you do that.
Yeah.
But we had so many of those people that were like, you were like, wait, what?
Oh, yeah, no, I've heard. So I had an agent that was fairly new a few months ago, and she said she was sleepy. And so she got up and, got herself a cup of coffee.
Oh, was this the one that told you, like, I think we talked about it on the show already, where she said, I can either go to sleep or get coffee?
Yeah, she was like, you either pay me to sleep or pay me to get my coffee.
No, I'm paying you to work, bitch.
Yeah, motherfucker, I don't pay for that. But here's the thing, whenever I'm listening to somebody, I do live monitorings on my agents because I
Right.
want to give real-time feedback.
Totally.
So
Way more effective.
it's way more effective. And if you don't know I'm listening, because if I'm doing a side-by-side, you see me there, you're going to instinctively do the right thing, right? But if I'm listening to you and I'm at my desk and you're at your desk, you don't know I'm listening. Mm-hmm. And there's still, like, it kills me after being in call centers for as long as I've been in them. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody has that myth of, oh, when I hear an echo in my phone, in my headset,
That's
that
so
means
stupid.
somebody's listening
No,
to
it
me.
doesn't. Not at all.
It's not what that means.
Not even close.
Not even. That means your headset's jacked up. You need to have IT come look at it.
The only thing, I will tell you this, we figured it out at Gencel. This is fucked up. And now they don't do this anymore. So if you work at Gencel, because you know me, this doesn't fly no more. Just as a heads up. But back in the day, 2003, 2004, the system that they had to record you was random. It did not record every call.
Oh, shit.
Right? So it would only record sporadically throughout the day. So there was a dial-in number, a 1-800 number that managers could call and do live monitors from their own cell phones.
Right.
So they could go out and smoke, they could wander around, they could listen to you. Okay, fine. Well, we figured out when I was an agent and we were doing, we were helping like a new hire class, and they gave us that number with the code. Now the code would cycle every 30 days. So you get a new code for situations like this, right? But we were helping new hire classes so often, we always had the code. Mm-hmm. If you dialed that number and the code and put in the code and then put in your extension and it was busy, you were being listened to. You were being recorded. But if you didn't, right? If it went through and you could hear yourself in your phone,
And you were being listened to.
then you weren't being listened to at all, right? But here's the cool thing. You could do that. I knew so many people that I never had the balls to do this. I swear to God, I didn't. Because you know me, I'm afraid of being sent to the principal's office of life. So many people would dial that number, go in, and then leave their phone on, right? And then the recording system couldn't start recording you.
Well, yeah.
So people would literally be the shittiest human beings on the phones to customers because they knew they weren't being recorded. And then we went to Verint. And Verint recorded everything. And everything got fucked. Everybody was like, oh, God, I got to behave. And people couldn't remember. People who had been helping out new hire classes, training them, could not remember how to be a semi-decent agent because they hadn't had to do it forever. But if it was busy, all of a sudden you could hear like, oh, I'd be more than happy to help you with that. I'm so sorry. I can understand why that is so frustrating. And I promise we are going to get this handled straight away. Like all of a sudden they turned into a whole different person.
Mary fucking Poppins.
And I always knew which one of my agents did it because they would be like, yeah, whatever. And then all of a sudden they'd perk up. I'm like, you dialed it. You got that number. Motherfucker.
Well, we have people that will call
Oh, yeah.
the 800 number from their phone for whatever concept they're on and hang up until they get themselves and then just sit there. Go on break, just all kinds of shit. So, I mean, there's always a way around. There is always a way around because we had people, we called it rolling calls. And I told you, we fired a bunch of people for this.
And they've stopped doing that because now they've gotten hip to it, right?
Well, not only did they have to stop doing it because we got hip to it, but in the system that we use, they finally fixed it so that after 10, 15 seconds, bam, it throws you right into available.
Good.
You can't do it anymore.
Good.
Because we had so many problems.
Because I'm sorry, guys. And look, I know there are going to be people that are going to be listening to this who aren't QAs, who aren't managers, who are agents, that are like, look, I'm tired. My workplace sucks. You guys should understand that, blah, blah, blah. Look, guys, I get it.
I understand.
This work is tedious. It is hard.
Monotonous.
It is frustrating. You get people screaming at you for not a lot of money. And God knows you should probably be paid more, especially if you're good at it. But this is not just us being bullshit managers. This is us telling you how to save not only your job, but your company. Because if all of you guys are doing this, rolling calls where nobody can get somebody to answer the phone, all of you are going to be
I'm rolling calls
shit.
and Laura's taking $500 a day.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
And then the way our bonus structure is set up now, it's based solely on productivity.
Good.
So the more calls they take, as long as they're not going and as long as they're coming to work when they should, they're adhering to their schedule and they're taking those calls like
what
they
about
should.
their quality scores? Does it count at all?
It's only 25% of the scorecard.
That's still a good amount.
That's still
It's
a good amount.
Quarter of the scorecard.
Yeah, and then we've got analytics too. So the quality score counts for 12.5%. The analytics score for 12.5%.
Oh, okay.
So analytics, like. I like the analytics part of it because that's telling me if my agents are giving good customer service because that system is telling me, okay, do they have a lot of dead air? Are they cutting off a guest? Are they, stuff like that. So it's helpful to us, and then their attendance is 25%, but their productivity is 50%.
Nice.
So you bring your ass to work, you take your breaks on time, and you take all your fucking phone calls.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah. Yep.
So that kind of dovetails nicely, and then we'll wrap this up because I know you got to go. That dovetails nicely into giving you guys a little bit of an update on our Enron stuff. The suggestion that we got from Jimmy Z. I just finished this week listening to The Smartest Guys in the Room, the audiobook by Bethany McLean, which I cannot recommend enough. And I'd seen the documentary, so the book definitely gave some details. Like there are certain moments in the documentary that I was like, wait, I need to know more. Why do you know that? Like it wasn't, you didn't have time to explain it. The book is like 15 hours long. The documentary is an hour and a half. Like you can only do so much, right? But listening to the book fully was fascinating. It was like, whoa. But also the book called Power Failure, which was written by Mimi Schwartz and Sherron Watkins. And Sherron is Sherron, if you want to look her up. Sherron Watkins was the whistleblower for Enron. And one of the reasons, like, with what we were just talking about with, like, ludicrous answers and people not doing their jobs and being absolutely ridiculous, if you look at what happened at Enron, a couple of shitty people really took down that entire company. It made, but it was a culture. I give them that. Like, it was a culture. I shouldn't say a couple of shitty people. It was a lot of shitty people. But we're going to go into it more.
But that was a culture that they had bred.
Right. But it's one of those, we're going to talk about this a lot more. There's a lot I want everybody to keep in mind with it. But it's one of those stories that it's like, guys, a couple of shitty people doing stuff like that can literally, this destroyed like 30,000 employees' lives. There is a dude in the documentary who at one point his 401k, which was mostly invested all in Enron, was like $350,000, sold it for $1,200.
And he probably had no choice.
Really, there's nothing.
He had no fucking choice.
He had none. I mean, it is brutal. I'm actually going to try to reach out to Sherron Watkins to see if I can interview her because I am like, I did not listen. I don't remember watching this documentary too much more after. I'd watched it a lot when George and I first got together, and then I became a QA, and I don't really remember watching it through the lens that I have now of being that person that's going, wait, stop.
Right.
This is going to fuck all of us. Because ultimately, that is really what happened. But here's the story. I wanted to get Tanya's reaction to this and kind of tease the next episode. We've recorded 2 today, so I'm going to release 1 this week, 1 next week, and next week you and I are going to record the first Enron episode.
Okay.
Maybe 2. But one of the stories that I need to see if I can find more details about this, because if it is what it sounds like on its face, good fucking Christ.
Oh,
I
God.
can't even imagine. So Ken Lay, the founder of Enron, eventually they made so much goddamn money that he actually had multiple private planes. Not just one. Like, just for him, right? At one point, his daughter was in, I want to say it's Morocco, and she didn't like the beds in Morocco. So he paid for a private plane and people to disassemble his daughter's bed from her room, fly it by itself on a plane from Texas to Morocco, and assemble it in the hotel where his daughter was staying.
Fuck you.
That's how much goddamn money these people made.
Fuck you.
When you have one of my multiple private planes with just a bed because my little princess needs to be comfy.
Oh my God.
Are you about?
I can't even. That's.
Hold still.
You know what I would get? That's too bad, isn't it?
Hold still.
Sophia's face.
Sophia's face was kind of brilliant. I'm going to post a picture. But it was just, that story was repeated a few times. And the thing about the Mimi Schwartz and Sherron Watkins book, and I don't say this to criticize the writing. I really don't. Because it doesn't feel tedious or monotonous. But at a certain point, the book just does devolve into lists. Lists of crazy shit that they bought and did with their money. Right? Like they had an art department at Enron that had a multi-million-dollar budget that their job was to go around the world and procure art like Rembrandts and Picassos to always have them be changing and, oh, look at our Picasso that's in the lobby. Like,
the fuck?
That's what they did. Like the things these people did with their money is insane. It's insane. What they did. The bed story really kills me. So we're going to go into some of that. And like I said, if Sherron Watkins and Mimi Schwartz read this, you have to read it. Because while it does kind of devolve into lists, it's kind of necessary because at a certain point, it starts to sink into your brain that this was not just a few. This was the culture. This is what they bred and this is what was normal to a lot of them. It really was. That bed story just killed me.
That's not the fuck.
I was like, fuck you, princess.
Right? My bed sucks.
I know, right?
Literally. Sucks. Fucking.
So, be prepared for that, people. That is coming. I cannot wait, especially now with the lens of 15 years of doing this.
Yeah.
It's really unbelievable. So, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at QAIC_Lara, LARA, and QAIC_Tanya, TANYA. And you can email us your stories at qisandcucumber@yahoo.com. And until next time, I'm Laura.
And I'm Tanya.
Love your faces.
Smooches.
Like what you hear? Rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcasting platform. And follow us on our Facebook page by searching Q as in Cucumber. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram by searching QAIC_Lara, LARA, and QAIC_Tanya, TANYA. Don't forget to check out our other show, hosted by me and Jessica James, called The Parent Memoirs. And we want to hear from you. Share your stories by emailing us at qasIncucumber@yahoo.com, and you might just hear your stories on a future episode. Love your faces.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.